Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Girl Chats Unfiltered. You're here tonight with Alana, Jezel, and myself, Candace. Tonight, we are going to be chatting about the importance of having an emergency fund. Y'all, we're going to adult tonight, okay? So if you need to step your game up, welcome to adulthood. We're talking about all the things. We're talking about the thing that is uncomfortable, which is money. But it is important, okay, to talk about money. The sooner, the better, I promise. So, a lot of people think that an emergency fund is for people that are old or people that, I don't know, but people don't think about emergency fund until they need one. So, we're going to share about why it's important to plan now for when the time comes. So what's the saying? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That applies to your finances, y'all. So, Jezel, let's go ahead and kick things off tonight. When you think of an emergency fund, what do you think of?
Oh, Lord. Before I knew what an emergency fund was, there was no fund. But emergency fund, now, if I'm being so transparent, an emergency fund was for everything but the emergency because there was no saving for what saving was supposed to be for. And now with financial wisdom, is the emergency fund really for emergencies? So I think it's so important to classify what is an emergency. An emergency is not the shoes that you saw that you want to buy and you did not budget or plan for. I know, right? Emergency fund is not, well, you know what? There's an airline ticket. I mean, the price is so right. Why don't we go now? The emergency fund is not even really for doctor's appointments, co-pays. I know this is crazy. Like, this is what I had to learn. But the emergency fund is rainy days. You hear that rainy day, right? And the rainy day is when something in life is happening. Life is lifing. And you come and there is this beautiful, peaceful feeling of like, you know what? Life is lifing, but I have this emergency fund for emergencies. And you don't have to dip in. That was pretty good, right? You don't have to dip in to your regular. And I will say for Ronnie and I, as much as we wanted an emergency fund, we just didn't really even classify what an emergency was because our entire life was an emergency. So what would you agree? Alana, would you agree?
Absolutely, I'd agree. But I'll also say there were times where there was no extra. Okay, we were paycheck to paycheck, but barely even paycheck to paycheck, where you might need to use the credit card for that bill. So I don't even feel like it was living outside of our means either. It's just you have to go through that uncomfortable place of taking that job that's not going to pay you exactly what you think you need in order to survive. And then you throw kids into the mix, and that's just unexpected how much kids cost, like for real. Like it's crazy. But you're right as far as what an emergency fund is not. Because all of those things sometimes it's like, let me dip into that extra. But it really makes me wonder, what's the difference between a savings account and an emergency fund, right? Because for me, emergency fund is when something happens, because right now I feel like life is life and for everybody. So it's like, well, you said life is life and it's always life. And so I don't have no extra. But I feel like when it's something that's completely unexpected, it's not your normal bill that's coming, and it will keep you from the bare necessity. So for an example, I was young, my first car, rolling till the wheels fall off, didn't really know I needed to get the rotations, and the rotations wasn't rotationing. And I think it was a nail in my tire, and I took it, and the guy looked at me and he said, like, your car is unsafe. Like, let me show you your tires. There's literally no thread in the tires. He's like he didn't feel comfortable with me leaving without getting 4 new tires. That was an emergency. I did not expect to buy 4 new tires on that day. And that quite literally could have been life or death. And I just was ignorant to the things that I needed to do. But luckily, I was beyond the paycheck to paycheck and could take care of it. But so many people today, they don't have that, where they're not building the savings or the emergency fund to be able to take care of those things that are completely unexpected. They cannot wait. I would put that in. It's the unexpected that absolutely cannot wait. Because sometimes you can cook the oodles and noodles. You don't have to use a credit card for the groceries. Just cook the noodles until payday. You know what I mean? But Candace, I'm curious because I saw you shake your head when I said the emergency fund versus the savings account. So I really want you to like double click into that aspect of things.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, before, when we're talking about emergency fund, look, guys, we are by no means certified financial planners, tax experts, or any of the sort. However, we have a lot of life under our belt at this point, and we are simply sharing our experiences. But what I will say, regardless of which financial guru you decide to follow, some may say a emergency fund is 3 months worth of bills put back. Some may say 6 months worth of bills put back. And that is like bills that you need to survive, like utilities, car payment, insurance, mortgage, rent, water, heat, like those types of things. Grocery, like if something happens and your income is completely cut, you've got 3 or 6 months in an emergency fund to keep you afloat until you get a job or whatever the case may be. Now, I do think the difference in an emergency fund and a savings account is my savings account is, if this month I just get a little overzealous and I'm shopping, I'm doing this, I'm eating out more, whatever, and I'm swiping the debit card a little bit more and I've spent more and my checking account balance is a little bit lower than I'm comfortable with, and I need to move some funds over from my savings account. My emergency fund is I don't touch it unless it is an emergency. Just because I went and bought 2 shirts too many. Those of you who are not watching video and you are tuning in to just the audio on podcast, your girl just about bit the dust, okay? My chair gave out on me and I just about took it down to the ground.
You were so smooth with it though. So smooth, sis. Didn't even notice.
Shawty got low. Okay, I'm back. Hold on. While we're talking about getting low, it did bring me a little bit closer to y'all. Do y'all peep the game? Do y'all peep this next level top flight security of the world microphones we got? Y'all, we are so professional.
And she did not dip into her emergency fund or savings account to do it.
I did not. This is a business expense. No. That's for another episode. We will talk about business expenses on another episode. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they need that wisdom. They need that wisdom, sis.
Yes. Thank you, Rochelle. See, thank you for acknowledging how official we are right now. # write-off. Yes, ma'am. Okay. We will get to that. And happy belated birthday to Rochelle. Her birthday was yesterday. But y'all, so I always say that the savings account is to kind of backfill what you have overspent when you blacked out. You were in the mall, you were in Express, you were in Limited, you blacked out. You gotta recoup before your husband, your spouse, whomever sees what you spent. Okay. The emergency fund is when you do not touch it unless it is an emergency. The mortgage is going to get paid. The water's about to get cut off. The electric's about to get cut off. You can't get to work because your car's broke down. You got to get it in the shop. Those are emergencies, okay? Or you truly need to go buy some oodle noodles, some ramen, some something because you have nothing else to eat. So that's where I am on the 2. Now, and Jezel, you said something earlier. You said that the emergency fund is for the rainy days. And I don't know about you all, and I know Alana, just because the conversations that we have had over the last few years, I know your life luck is very similar to mine and Justin's, because when it rains, it pours. And it is one catastrophe after another that that forces you to dip into savings and or emergency fund. And it's one thing after another.
I just have to say, I don't know who I pissed off certain parts of the year, because it's like at one point it's an all out avalanche. And I'm like, Lord, please let me through. Help me get through this and come out on the other side better than when I started. But I just had to insert real quick, because if you think your life be lifing, your life be lifing for your girl. And I still get up and smile and keep going, because we can't fall victim to life. And you are not alone. Okay.
Right.
You're
and
not
you
alone.
can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. It's the most random stuff that like you writers for like scripts of movies can't even make it up. It's the weirdest stuff. But life happens. It's fine. It's totally fine. Oh gosh. But anyway, so when building up for, well, hold on. I thought of something. When you were right before you were talking, I said that when it rains, it pours, and it's one thing after another, and you have to dip into savings and or emergency fund. And I want to talk about that, because when your emergency fund is set up, it's back, it's done, you know you're not going to touch it, you got everything you need, you then feed your savings account. When you get to a point that your savings account is fed enough that when emergency comes up, you pull from the savings and not the emergency fund, that's when you're winning. Like people are like, ooh, I bought the best Louis, I bought the new Gucci, I bought the new Cadillac, the Range Rover, whatever. Girl, show me your emergency fund. Show me your savings account. Show me your checking account. Like that's what I'm interested in. That's what impresses me. Okay. I don't care about the label that you probably have a card note on that's sitting out in your driveway. Show me what's it. Show me the liquid, the cash money. You know? Show me the cash money. That's when you're winning, y'all. So that's the goal over here. That's the goal, is to where when the emergencies hit, you can touch the savings. You don't have to touch the true emergency fund. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Candace, I love. Oh, I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead. I'll go after you. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask a question for you both. And we can, Jezel, you can start. But when did you get to a place where you were no longer paycheck to paycheck and you could actually start to build a savings and or emergency fund? What did that transition look like for you? What changed in your life?
I'm so glad. Okay, this is going to segue what I was going to say. So back in the day, you know, Ronnie and I have been together 15, 17 years old. So we were broker than a joker when we met. Everything we built. And we talk about, you remember when we used to save money under the mattress? I don't know if that's showing really my age, which that's okay. I don't care about that. But it was saving under the mattress. Okay. And we talk about those days. But I love that you identified that like savings and emergency fund, because again, transparently, I didn't understand those two. And the way that we really came to, because everything was a freaking emergency. I mean, when you're on paycheck to paycheck and you're barely making it, barely, and you have $20 to last the next 2 weeks, and this is not a scenario, this is real life, you know, you don't think about the things that you should have been planning for, which is putting away for savings, life insurance, all the things that are going to help you thank your future self, you know, your future self. Thank you. And so for me, it was like, and for Ronnie, it was, okay, savings is savings. Isn't that an emergency? So I love that you distinguished it, Candace, because the reality is that we as a family, we identify our savings. Like we have a vacation savings, you know, because that is not an emergency fund. We have a savings where if something comes up, like let's just say something extra, like you said, sis, you know, okay, this is not an emergency, but we don't want to pull from what we have, then we name it that. It's difficult. Let me reword that. It is challenging to try and save, hear me, when you are living paycheck to paycheck, but it is very possible. I know because that was me, and we have savings. And this was even before we were debt free. Okay. And the thing is, you know, Alana, you were saying how when you didn't have anything to save, like you were barely making it and you could pay what you could pay. But if you really analyzed in the mindset, and we've spoken about this before, and the mindset was, listen, you think we have it hard now? When we really are in a space when we need and we're not saving, we're literally making it harder. And so you start analyzing, like, I could have saved from that Starbucks drink. I could have saved from, the quick, oh, let me not cook tonight, McDonald's. It's like it adds up. So it adds up just like it does in the savings, but it's adding up in the outside the savings, and you're not getting any return on that. So it's really putting perspective, prosperity mindset, not that poverty mindset of like, well, hell, excuse my language, I don't have it anyway, so I'm gonna go and spend it. So it brings it all the way back. So I will say, did I answer your question? This is me. I'm the one. When we realized what savings really was defined, and when we realized what really was emergency, because sis, Candace, it's crazy because you said 3 to 6 months. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I've heard 1 to 2 times your salary. Yeah. And I know that sounds very far-fetched, but it really is the wisest, because we're thinking about it, so far off, like a year's worth of salary. I can barely, but if you start planning that way, and this is what I'm saying, I need you to hear, not you and you, but the people. I need you to hear that it starts with $1, $5, $10, because it adds up, where you believe it or not. I mean, by the time you know it, you have it. So for us, I think it was definitely identifying, acknowledging, and really putting our mouth money where our heart was and saving. So did I answer your question?
You absolutely answer my question, and it's really realizing that you don't have to have $100 or $200 or $300 a paycheck to start a savings. You can decide, I'm going to put $5 a week in a savings and watch that add up to some type of emergency fund. First, even if it's $500 in an emergency fund, take a year to get there, but you'll be thanking yourself later. So I think that was really wise. Another thing that I heard you say that is true for me is once I started to identify and label what it is I wanted to create, and I started to say, okay, let me make an account and make it a savings account. And I determined mentally like what this account is for. And then, a vacation fund. We want to do family vacations or girls trips. That's what this is for. And I think once you actually identify and stop having all of your income lumped into one account and you just try to figure it out, next thing you know, you've overspent, like that literally makes the difference. And even if it's an envelope, like you said, under the mattress, put the $5, put the extra change. If you break a 20, whatever the change on that 20 is, put it in the envelope and just start somewhere, and that makes a difference. Candace, what about you? When did you like flip and start to actually save and create those accounts?
Yeah. So if you know Justin and I, you know that I'm the spender, he's the saver. So we got married on May 21st of 2011, and we went on our honeymoon the next morning, and we got back the following Sunday. That Monday morning, our first stop before we went to work was at the bank, and we set up a new joint checking account and a joint savings account. And we took all of our like wedding money and divided it between the new joint checking and joint savings. And from that point on, we were like, we don't care what it turns into. It's not going to get any lower than this. Like this is what it has to be. So this is where we have to grow from. And that is also the moment that I said to myself, I will always have multiple streams of income coming in order to feed this. So like for me, what is yes okay, you're if you have a corporate job, you work a 9 to 5 job, you get paid every week, 2 weeks, monthly, whatever your pay schedule is. You can determine where that money goes, whether it goes into a personal checking, a joint checking, a personal savings, joint savings, or wherever you want your paycheck allocated. But I also am like, I want that to happen, but I also want to fuel it a lot quicker. So I'm going to figure out a way to generate some other income outside of my corporate job, and that money just go to savings and just go to the emergency fund. That way it's like because it's a mind thing for me, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to work every day to this corporate job that pays me so that I can live life. But I'm also taking that paycheck and putting it into account for when they cut my life off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So that's when I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to fuel this savings account and this emergency fund from some other way, so I don't feel like I'm working for when the day comes that they decide they want to dispose of me. So the best thing I ever tell anybody is, don't count on your plan A to be the only source of income that you have throughout your life. You have to think about B, C, D, all the way to Z. You have to think about those things. And if you're not, then you're going to be in a situation where either you don't have an emergency fund or savings account, or you blow through that before you know it, but you blink and it's gone. And then you're out here asking for handouts. You're knocking on somebody's door. You're out in the cardboard box. You know what I'm saying? So think about how you're going to plan going forward. What about you all? How do you all think about like having additional streams of income and how important it is, especially in 2024?
Listen, it's essential. My first hustle stream of income was braiding hair. In high school, in college, come to my dorm room. What you want? Some cornrows, some twists. I got you. But it's a mentality I had, honestly. It's because I had everything I needed growing up. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like we did not have extra. And I knew it's not something that I wanted for my life. So I just was accustomed to working hard. And that did look like, shoot, my brother in elementary, they would go to like what's equivalent today is called Smart Final in California, but like Sam's Club or something, and buy the suckers and sell like suckers for 25 cents at school and make a profit to buy a bike. So, I grew up around that mentality of there's money to be made. Like, you got to just have that mentality of hard work and going after it. So it's a non-negotiable. I gotta have an additional stream, and it's little things. Like, I have an app that takes automatically $10 out of my account a week, and I don't even realize it's happening. I looked at it the other day; it's $500 in there just from me not looking at it, taking $10, and that's a little fund over there. You know what I mean? So multiple ways, but the previous question, I do want to revisit just for a quick second and just give you a little nugget of something that really changed for me. Stop just having in your mind what your bills are. The game changed for me when I actually got a budget tracker and listed out all the bills and, round up. Okay, the light is typically this. Gas is this. We got to get the grass cut. This is how much it costs. Car note, this. House payment, rent at the time. Like, I have it written down. I know exactly how much money I need to bring in. Put a line item for groceries. Budget how you're spending on groceries. Have a budget for what you're going to spend for eating out. If you put a budget on your life, and once you have that number, you're going to work towards beyond that number. You're going to say, I need this to survive, and I need to do this over here to make a little extra. You know what I mean? So get out of your head and put pen to paper, or there's so many apps out there. You have to track what has to go out so that you can make sure you know how much needs to come in. That totally was my game changer. What about you, Jezel? How do you feel about the multiple streams of income and building upon that for those accounts?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in a second, but I do have a nugget too with going with everything you're saying, like, you do not see me back here saying amen. For the people that are listening, I am amening it. The communication is so huge. Candace, even when you said, and Alana, my husband and I have never had any other choice. We're all we've had, so it was like, yeah, we had a bank account. We had, done me, there was anything in there at the end of the month, but still we had one. After we stopped using the mattress, we elevated, right? So the thing is that I will say there are definitely, the way that people have different communication styles, people definitely have different financial ideas and methods. And I could tell, even though I'm from the hood, I'm from the projects of New York, I did not grow up with much. And I too, Alana, felt the same way, is that we never had extra, we just didn't have extra. And I knew that I feel like, literally, I say this all the time, I was a hustler coming out the womb, in the projects we had Miss Ann. She was filling Kool-Aid with the icy, selling them for 25 cents. Like, I've always been around that mentality. So for me, hustling is not a bad word. That's what people, no, hustle game, because it made me so much stronger in, like, definitely going to have several streams of income. And especially with, the way that you pattern your lifestyle. And my husband is that way, Alana. Like, he is very, baby, you have the look, because I'm favored. I am favored. Whatever comes my way, God is coming through. There is no thought. It's just happening. I know I got to do my work, but it's happening. And, so when he's like, baby, this is what we're going to do. We have these bills. We're going to do this. The thing is if we would have had that method in the beginning, even without that, we thought we were without, because we were working, but like you said, Alana, we can do it with a little bit, all you have is all you need. So when I don't think there's ever a time that we did not have hustle game, which is like, no, several streams of income. And we didn't even realize the kids were going to be as expensive as they were. I was a mom, me and my daughter are 20 years apart. I was a young mom, but it's the things, the life that's happening, and why not? And I would love for people to change the narrative that you don't only have to have several streams of income if you are in debt or doing bad or drowning. Why not set yourself up for the future? We take our cars, hopefully we're not taking our cars for maintenance when they're down and out and flat tire and it's not running. We're taking it before that happens, So the same thing with your life. The world literally is in such a detriment because we don't have financial literacy. And I will say that I did not for a very, very long time. You turn around and you're like, oh, I want good credit, but they won't give me credit if I don't have credit. And it's like you come to that point where it's like, oh, no, we're not paying for nothing unless we have cash. We are not charging things. We are not, going through all that. And so it's definitely that mindset. But why not have an extra stream of income where it can give you that peace, whether you are in corporate or whether you have or you feel you don't have? You understand?
No, absolutely. And I know, I'm sorry, go ahead, Alana. Were you going to say something?
Now just give me your last nugget, Candace. What's your nugget for the people before we wrap up? I know we're coming up on time and we don't like to keep y'all too long.
Yes. No, just one more thing. And y'all know that we are all I like to say we are your entrepreneurial besties. Okay. So I have no shame in my game, y'all. This is why we are here. We are here to share our knowledge, share our love, share our passion, all the things we love to do. And one of the things that we love to do more than anything is make money and help other people make money. So if you are looking for a way to diversify your income, you want to add another stream of income so that you can fund your savings, fund your emergency fund, please reach out to one of us so that we can chat with you about different things that we have going on, what works for us, what hasn't worked for us, and what we would ideally like to tell our fellow brother or sister to do now and not wait till next year or the year after to start. What you can start now to start building those funds and make sure that you're building towards a more comfortable life. There are more things out there than the 9 to 5. Even though the 9 to 5 is amazing, there are other ways to generate money every single day, week, month, however you want to spend it. So don't let that stop you guys. Reach out to one of us. We would love to help you.
Yes, y'all. I think that's a wrap on episode 3 of Girl Chats. If you are not following all of us, make sure you click on us and follow us. Check us out on Instagram as well. This will be streaming here on Facebook weekly at 6:30 Central Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern. You can catch the replay in our links in our bios. Look out for the podcast links coming soon. Any topics that you want us to talk about? I feel like we got a few that just came up today, like financial literacy, multiple different streams of income. Like we talked about a lot today, but any topics that you want to hear us chat about, or if you're interested in being a special guest, please reach out to one of us. And until next week, y'all, go on ahead and keep that hustle culture going and knowing it's not a bad thing. We're out.
Bye, guys.